Hello, I'm Shazel Muhammad, founder of African Link Initiative, and this is your Right to Fight military moment. In this episode, we look at the role of Black soldiers in the nation's Civil War. These brave men fought for freedom, for a union, and for the right to be recognized as American soldiers. When Union troops crossed into Confederate territory, thousands of enslaved people fled plantations and sought out Union camps. Many of these men begged to fight, determined to claim their own freedom by bearing arms. At first, they were turned away or only unofficially enlisted. But everything changed on January 1, 1863, when President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. From that moment, Black soldiers were officially welcomed into the Union Army. In total, about 186,000 Black men served in the Union Army, nearly 10% of all Union soldiers. Of these, 94,000 were formerly enslaved. These sacrifices were immense. 38,000 gave their lives in service to the nation. By contrast, the Confederate Army did not begin to recruit Black soldiers until March of 1865, just weeks before the war ended. They never saw combat. Again and again, Black regiments of the Union Army proved their courage. Colonel T.W. Higginson, commander of the Union's 1st South Carolina Volunteers, reported after leading his regiment into battle, I quote, "No officer in this regiment now doubts that the key to the successful prosecution of this war lies in the unlimited employment of Black troops. It would have been madness to attempt this battle with the bravest white troops, what I have successfully accomplished with the Black ones." End quote. Among the most famous of these regiments was the 54th Massachusetts Infantry. Activated in early 1863, the unit drew more than 1,000 men from 24 states and several foreign countries. About 1/4 of its soldiers were formerly enslaved. The regiment was commanded by Colonel Robert Gould Shaw, a young white officer who believed deeply in the cause. On July 18, 1863, the 54th led the assault on Fort Wagner in South Carolina. In darkness, across a marsh with chest-deep water, they charged the fort head-on, leading the white regiments that followed. The cost was devastating. More than a third of the regiment were killed or wounded, including Colonel Shaw himself. But their bravery inspired the young nation. One hero of that night, Sergeant William H. Carney, a former slave, became the first Black soldier to earn the Congressional Medal of Honor. Though shot in the chest, arm, and legs, he carried the Union flag forward and planted it on the ramparts. His act of courage shouted a message that no one could ignore. Black soldiers would fight, take the initiative, and die to preserve the Union. Their story was later immortalized in the 1989 film Glory. A monument to the men of the 54th Regiment now stands proudly on Boston Common, honoring their sacrifice. No discussion of the Civil War is complete without Frederick Douglass, a former slave, writer, and orator, whose voice helped shape the nation's conscience. Douglass escaped slavery in Maryland, taught himself to read and write, then rose to national fame as an abolitionist. During the war, he developed a personal relationship with President Lincoln, urging him to free the enslaved and to arm all Black men willing to fight. Douglass not only spoke, he acted. He recruited his own sons into the Union Army. One of them fought at Fort Wagner with the 54th Massachusetts. Through his words and example, Douglass ensured that the war for the Union was also a war for freedom. The Civil War revealed what many had long known. When given the chance, Black Americans would fight with valor, skill, and patriotism. They had earned, in blood, the right to fight. Yet, even after their sacrifices, true equality was delayed. The assassination of Lincoln and the failures of Reconstruction meant that nearly another century would pass before the promise of equal rights in uniform became more fully realized. I'm Shazel Muhammad, and this has been your Right to Fight Military Moment.